giving me some funny looks this morning, but a great start for Stanford, and they've just done an incredible job this year getting those guys ready to compete. And you said it, as a dual team with a forfeit, kind of puts them at a disadvantage, but really set up to be a great tournament team as we go into these last few weeks.
I know it's early, Trent, but you look at some of the key matchups head-to-head in this first round. This is one we both circled. 141 pounds. Troy Hohman really earned his spot in the Wolfpack lineup late in the year, taking on Jayden Scott, a redshirt sophomore. He has been a part of these ACC championships in the past.
Yeah, this is an amazing first-round matchup. You said it, NC State versus UNC, both teams looking to win a team title, and these are often the matches that it comes down to. Putting guys in the semis is huge. Bit of clash of styles here. Jayden Scott's been really successful this year from space, very explosive. Troy Hohman, on the other hand, likes to scramble, create a little bit of more of that chaos. When guys if you get to Troy Hohman's legs, you got to score quick, and that's Jayden Scott's bread and butter. So a bit of a clash of styles here early.
Hohman moving into the starting lineup at 141 late in the year for Pat Papalizio and the Wolfpack. They have went with Tyler Tracy for a good chunk of that first semester. Hohman picked up a big win in the Friday night duel we had against Stanford, and he has not relinquished that spot in the starting 10.
Yeah, a story like Troy Hohman is always really exciting. Not the starter the whole year, gets thrown into the lineup in a big dual meet. He makes the most of it, gets a big win, and now sees himself in the ACC Championships. And this is probably one of my favorite parts about postseason wrestling, is seeing guys that get that opportunity and seeing if they take advantage of it. With Troy Hohman, I think the goal for him in this match, slow it down early. Don't let Scott get out to a big, an early lead, and then look to claw back and win the way that he likes to.
As that whizzer in here after Scott's initial attack, Jayden Scott looking for the first offense.
A really strong whizzer, but Scott doing a great job of bringing it up. Getting the foot off the mat makes it a lot harder to whizzer. You see that he isolates the leg. He's got to pull it back into the center now. Don't let Hohman get out. Get to the ankle, pull it back, get up to your feet. Just a lot of pressure on Scott's shoulder there. Great whizzer by Hohman.
Scott's, looked like it slipped away there just as he was trying to drag him back in to create a little bit more space. Hohman was able to kick free.
Yeah, and that's part of that pressure release, right? You whizzer down really hard. As soon as they go to pull up, it allows you to kick out. Good defense by Hohman early on.
North Carolina switched up weights with both Scott and McNeil this year. Jayden Scott wrestling down at 141 this season for the first time after representing the Tar Heels at 149 the past couple of years. 12-10 this season, 4-9 in duels. McNeil making the jump up from 41 to 49 in what's a stacked field here at the ACCs.
AC Scott doing a great job of commanding center, getting Hohman to the edge. Hohman's got to be careful and not going out of bounds here. The ref could give him a stall call. He goes stalemate. Now Scott's gotten a read on Hohman's right leg twice. The first time he got in deep, the second time he just got a piece of it. Be interested to see what his adjustment is to get himself penetrated to the shot and make that adjustment for the finish.
Scott again comes in on the shot. That warrants the stall call for Hohman. So it's been Jayden Scott, the aggressor in this first period. The stall on Hohman. Scott working to those double unders, tried to whip him over, but the momentum goes out of bounds. Continuation of action. We go back to the center with 8 seconds to go.
Yeah, strong first period by Scott. A couple of good attacks to that right leg. Gets himself a stall call. And those are huge as you get into a match like this. 0-0 after the first period, but you have a stall call. That opens up for different ways to score points later in the match.
Scoreless after one. Flip of the disc comes up green. Scott defers, and Hohman says, let's go underneath.
Yeah, Hohman on bottom. He's very good at rolling. He'll look to Granby, even if the guy, lifts and returns him. So he'll look to roll from any position. If you're Jayden Scott, you got to make sure you control the hips, right? Stay centered. Don't get out to one side to allow Hohman's hips to get out for him to create the opportunity to roll.
With that thigh price just to the claw. You mentioned that roll. That's what Hohman was looking for. Scott stayed with him. Now tripoding up. Scott's going to have to bring it back down to the mat, and he does. Good mat return there by Scott. Good top wrestling for the Tar Heel.
Yeah, it's a good job of controlling hips, right? When you go to lift and return somebody, if you don't control the hips, that's what allows them to get out and get ready to roll. Scott did a good job. As he slammed Hohman down, he controlled his hips on the way down the mat.
Hohman back up to his feet for the second time. Scott sticks that leg in for a second. Now he elevates the right leg of Hohman. Hohman driven out of bounds, and the stall call there from Scott for no mat return.
Yeah, going to call Scott for a stall call there. He was on his feet for a while, and the ref was saying, hey, Red's controlling his wrist, so I'm not going to call stalling here. But as soon as Scott dropped down to that leg and took him out of bounds, showing the ref that, I'm not trying to mat return, I'm trying to get a fresh start, and it warranted a stall call. So both guys with a stall, very important here.
Hohman just hasn't quite figured out the recipe to get out from underneath. Scott approaching a minute of riding time, and he brings Hohman down again. Hohman, though, right back up. Now trying to hit that switch, and he finally is away. But Jayden Scott, minute 9 of riding time, and both wrestlers back on their feet.
Yeah, strong ride by Scott. Hohman just a hard guy to control for that long. He uses that switch to set up some separation to get to his feet for an escape. Now, if you're Scott, continue to dominate the center of the mat. You've gotten a stall call by getting Hohman to the edge and forcing the action. Continue that pace. You will get rewarded if you continue the pace.
Working off this front head position. Let's see what side Scott goes to. And that right foot came out of bounds just at the last second there. And Coach Esposito with some words for his young wrestler Hohman, probably saying, try to get to your offense a little bit. It's been all Scott initiating.
Yeah, you gotta find his offensive action, right? It's good to be defensive, but at some point you've got to be ready to take the risk to go get to your shot. Look for a setup, look for an attack, create some of that chaotic action that you feel comfortable with.
So the escape late in the second period for Hohman. Each wrestler has been warned for stalling. It's going to be Scott's choice. He's going to have the opportunity to get the equalizer here as he will go down underneath. Key battle, North Carolina, NC State. 2 of the 3 as far as the trio that shared the regular season title with Virginia Tech.
Yeah, and with 1:09 of riding time, if Scott can get out in 9 seconds, that's huge. Hohman has to be able to ride him for at least 10 to get that riding time under a minute. He seems to be doing a good job. As Scott gets to his feet, he gets out with 1 minute of riding time. That is really big. Now, Hohman is down essentially 2-1 if he doesn't get a takedown, because he will get rewarded 1 minute at the end of the match. So now the pressure's on Hohman to go get a takedown.
Key escape right there by Scott. And now Hohman has to put his foot on the gas, but tough to do in this position. We've seen Scott get here before near the edge. Scott has controlled the mat. Trying to spin around to the side. Hohman being very cautious here, and we get a stalemate back to the center with a minute 14 to go.
Yeah, so setting the scene here, right? Both guys have a stall call. Scott just can't go to the back up and avoid action. He's got to stay in there. He did a good job of getting that underhook and slowing down Hohman. He knows Hohman has to come to try to score. He's got to stay in the center of the mat, try to lock up wrist, get to a control tie, try to let this clock tick down.
And if Hohman's going to dial up that first takedown of this match, what's his best shot?
Well, I think he's got to get Scott moving, right? Scott's been moving forward the entire time and controlling the action. He's got to find some angles, whether it's a fake or putting multiple attacks together. He's got to start chaining some stuff together. It's not going to be a one-off attack.
Both wrestlers down to their knees. Hohman tried to sprint up, tried to shuck him on by. Scott not budging. 30 seconds to go. Again, riding time the difference right now with Jayden Scott. Hohman's going to need offense. Scott making that very difficult. Official will say, let's start up in the center one more time. 21 seconds to go.
Yeah, now this got to be a sprint by Hohman. You got to put everything you have into these last 20 seconds. You've got to create some action, try to chain multiple attacks together. Scott doing a great job of getting that underhook. That really slows down Hohman.
Now Scott trying to put on the finishing measures. Hohman, though, with good hips, backs out. Scott still in on that leg. Scramble will continue, and that's just all right. If you're Jayden Scott, riding time the difference. 1 minute of riding time. Wrestling is a sport that is defined by centimeters, inches, and seconds, and in this case, 1 second.
Yeah, just really good wrestling IQ by Scott. He wrestled hard in the second period to secure the riding time. Only 109, which, you know, you get ready for bottom. It's like, man, I only got 9 seconds to get out. But he exploded off the whistle. He found a way to get separation, keep his minute of riding time, and then in the third period, just did a really good job of shutting down Hohman's offensive action, getting to his underhook, slowing